Good evening. How is everyone? I am so excited to have over one of the greatest people in the whole world. Well, now currently in the States, but in the whole world, Rachel Greene.
Hi.
Or
Oh, this is so
as
fun.
or as is she known in the community as Google Girl.
Goodness.
You were so cute in that show. It was so much
Oh,
fun.
that's so funny. Thank you. It was a fun time.
It was. It was so much fun, like meeting you and Zeev and Shai and Shavit and like working with Miri and Eleanor and like everyone. Layla. It's like it was such a and Liza.
Oh,
I don't know. I just love our cast. And I remember a lot of fun memories from it. So before we like start, like do you have like a fun because I already started on that, do you have like a fun memory or something that you recall from first date that you kinda wanna or like kinda like start the journey of how did you start theater and then how did you become like in the production?
okay. Wow. Those are a lot of questions, but I can
I
try.
know. I'm just excited to see you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, those are all good questions, and I want to talk about them. Yeah. So I guess just like long story short about me was that I am from America. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, in the
Summer
U.S.
in Ohio.
Yeah, that's me right now. Yeah, so I'm from here originally. I did when I was a kid. I grew up doing community theater in Ohio and just loving that, doing a lot of musicals. And then I did a gap year studying at a midrashah in Jerusalem, and I wanted to be doing more theater because I knew that's what I wanted to be doing with my life. And my midrashah was an arts program, but it wasn't quite enough theater for me. So I was like out searching for something fun. And I found out about J Town and that the show was happening. And it was actually really funny. The auditions had already passed. The show had already been cast, actually. I guess I must have heard about the show through Tall Schwerd.
Yeah.
Because we were on the same program. And the show had been cast, but she was close with Layla from Next to Normal, I guess. And she reached out and was like, I have this friend who would like love to be involved, but like the show might already be cast. And I think what happened was Layla was like, it's cast, but like she could come and audition. Like we might need one more person, who knows? And so I didn't know where I was. I took a bunch of buses because I was new to the city and didn't know how to get anywhere. And it was just me and Chaim, actually. And it was just in some tiny room at the school that he taught at. I don't remember where it was. Wherever he was. He was at some school.
I wonder where, because he was in several schools. Like I know him from the Jerusalem Academy, so but I don't know if
it might have been there.
maybe.
It's been a few years. But yeah, it was just I'd never met him before. I was just like, who is this man? I don't know. And I just auditioned for him, and it was really sweet, and he was really nice. And a few days later, he called me and was like, "You're in the show, and you're playing this part, and it's already cast, but we'll find room for you, and you can sing all the harmonies that we didn't have people for yet." I was like,
you were the man of the show.
I sang all of the like lower voice part harmonies that they didn't have enough of, which is fine. That's great, and it was good practice, because after Israel, I went. I just finished 4 years at Brandeis University.
Congratulations, by the way. You had an honors, if I'm not correct.
Highest honors, yeah. That was for my thesis, which I'm sure I could talk more. I could talk forever about it, but
we'll be more than happy to hear about it.
But all that was to say, I joined an a cappella group, Proscenium Musical Theater a cappella. And my first year, they were short on lower voice part, male voices. And so I was singing all of the like men's harmonies for a year. And they were like, you picked this up really fast. And I was like, well, I had some practice. You're working on a show where this is all I did. So it was good training. It was good prep. But yeah, that's how I found my way to first date, which was so fun. Because up until then, all I really knew were the girls from my seminary who were all very sweet, but they didn't love theater the way I did, which is kind of where I always want to be. And they were all like girls my age. But then I got to meet all these people from all over Israel and like actual friends who like live in Israel, who like if I, needed to go to Israel right now and needed a place to stay, I feel like I could contact anyone and just be like, can I come for a meal? Can I come say hi? And it was like really great to make like actual friends who weren't just girls stopping by for 1 year. So it was really fun.
That's amazing. So before we'll talk about like your studies, I'm kind of interested in because no, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this question. I'm sorry. Well, you said that you started in community theater when you were young, and then you did First Date. Okay, the first question will be, what other shows were you in? And the other one will be, what, like you mentioned that by doing the low harmonies, it really helped you with the a cappella group, but did you feel that by doing First Date, it helped you to be more prepared for your degree in a way?
Yeah, it's a great question. So pre-Israel, I had grown up in a little community theater through my Jewish community center, Playmakers Youth Theater, for anyone who might know it. And I started there in I was probably like 10 or something. I was pretty young. And I just did like a billion. I did as many shows as they had. So the list is long, but I think in high school, my favorite ones I did Seussical. That one's a favorite. I did Cabaret, which not sure if that's a good show for children, but like I had fun.
What was your role in it, if you had a role?
Fräulein Coast. And I feel like maybe not a role for a child, but
wow.
But I learned a lot and it was really fun.
How's your German?
Not good. Video of me singing that verse that's in German, and it exists somewhere on the internet. Don't go looking for it. But I've gone back and I have watched it, and I'm like, wow. Anyone
I'm gonna watch it.
They'd be like,
I gotta find it. Yeah.
But I didn't know any better because I was a kid. But yeah, it was. Other than like one or two things at my school, which didn't have much arts programming, and like a few things here and there, I really like only did theater at that one place. So when I got to Israel and I did First Date at J-Town, it was kind of my first time in my life since being like 9 or 10, where I had to meet an entirely new group of people to do theater with, which was kind of scary, but it was also really good because I think it made me a lot more brave going into college, because I kind of had to restart once already because Israel was a whole like clean slate, didn't know anyone. So in that way, I think it helped me a lot. And I also think when I grew up, I was doing youth theater. So it was all kids and they were all my age. And we were used to being like, we are the children and the music director and the director are grown-ups. But I guess when I was in Israel, it was my first time doing a show where like we're all grown-ups and we're all adults who are doing this thing together, which was much more like collaborative and fun, which was a new way of viewing theater for me. And then that helped me a lot going into college and just thinking of myself as an adult and working with other adults, I guess.
Incredible. Yeah. So it's really so what you said is like, first of all, beforehand, you said about a sense of communities, like people, they can just meet up after rehearsal or like go and hang out. So that's A, and B, like it's like really just connections, like communication and like work with other people, especially like being thrown to something new. So that's incredible. And then you moved to, remind me, which university?
Brandeis University. It's outside of Boston.
Amazing. Oh, so my brother is actually studying enough in Stonehill, which is like next to Massachusetts, I think.
Oh, cool.
He's
cool.
So it's,
I like the name vaguely rings a bell. I'm sure it's somewhere nearby.
So so it's really cool. Boston has been like a big part of my life without even knowing it. Cool.
Oh, you should come visit because I'm gonna move there soon. So come visit.
Okay. I will just come for you. That's for sure.
Please, I'll be there.
Amazing. So what I wanted to ask is if you can a little explain about what is Brandeis, your degree, what did you necessarily do in it, and basically how you evolved like through it, because just to like follow your posts and all your shows, and like you were also a director, like you were like literally taking charge of the department, which was remarkable. It's just remarkable. So if you can like just share like your journey there.
I can try. It's been a long 4 years, but I've done a lot of stuff that I'm really proud of and really loved, so I can try. Um, yeah, so Brandeis is a small-ish, couple thousand kids, liberal arts college in outside of Boston, Massachusetts. Um, and they have a really nice theater program. I visited it when I was in high school. I did like a summer program there, and I was like, this place seems really cool, seems like the right fit. And I kind of always knew I wanted to go there. And I always knew I wanted to study theater. Like that was a no-brainer. But I was really passionate about going to a place that wasn't like a conservatory style where all I would study is theater, like a BFA. Like I wanted to go for a BA, a Bachelor of Arts, so that I could like potentially study lots of other things. Turns out I didn't study anything other than theater, but it was good that I had the option and I could meet people who did all other types of things, which I think really informed the type of theater that I make, which is great. But yeah, I rolled up on day one and I was like, I got to know everyone. I want to be involved with everything. Like, I just want to do as many shows as I possibly can. So I got very involved with, there are like student theater clubs and then like the theater department. So I spent
What is the difference?
Yeah. So, the student theater clubs, there are a few of them, are entirely run by the students themselves. So like the actors are students, the directors are students, the producers are students, the designers are students. Every single part of it happens because the students are putting it together. Whereas with the department is where you take all your classes, and also they put on a few shows a year, which are usually directed by either professors or outside professional directors from the Boston area usually, and usually the designers also. Usually everyone other than the actors tend to be roles. Of course, there's like fluidity in some students doing a little of everything, but so just different experiences. So I did a lot of like student only theater, and like that is where I kind of was able to like create just whatever I wanted to make with my friends because no one was telling us what to do. So we were like, let's just create this crazy thing and get some money to do it because they would give us money.
Wow.
Yeah. So we were doing that while also I was very involved with my department. And at the school, they have a program, the undergraduate department representative program. So basically it's by application, and they select people to be one or two people from each department who are like the student, like liaison between the faculty and the students. And
like
sort
a student body?
Kind of, but with each department having like one representative and sort of in charge of creating programming to promote the seasons. And like I would do like weekly newsletters and plan events and things like that just to like raise engagement with the department. So I started that my junior year and did that for 2 years, which helped me be very involved with sort of like making lots of little things happen. So it was sort of like my three things were like student theater, the theater department, and my a cappella group that I was in for 4 years. So that's a very brief overview. I did mostly acting for all of my time.
Mainly Shakespeare, right?
Yeah, so it was always acting for me. I came in thinking musical theater was my everything because it was all I had ever done in my life. And I still love musical theater, but after I think I did a musical that I loved my first semester sophomore year. And then at the end of that semester, I auditioned for a show that was my friend Sarah. It was her senior thesis, which is basically in the theater department, you can do a academic thesis, which you basically create a show from scratch or that already exists in some capacity, and you can do it to potentially graduate with honors. And they produce all the shows in this big festival. And I did one this year that I would love to talk about at some point. But my sophomore year, I auditioned for one. And it was this girl, Sarah, who I love dearly. She was doing a 2-woman Shakespeare play, it was like 10 scenes from 8 Shakespeare plays, all in a row with just 2 women playing all the roles. And she made the mistake of casting me. And then I fell down that rabbit hole. And I was like, whoa, I love Shakespeare so much. And that led me to applying to an apprenticeship at Commonwealth Shakespeare Company, which is an awesome company in Boston that produces a big like Shakespeare in the Park every year. So I apprenticed with them and acted there and like trained very rigorously in Shakespeare there. And then that's kind of been my like niche is like Shakespeare and the Greeks and classical works. yeah, that's basically how I got there. So
That's like how. What does it mean to be an apprentice
yeah,
in the
uh,
company?
it's kind of like an internship, I guess. The program was like half training program, half performance. So we spent like half our days in classes and learning and also like working for the company in some capacities, like helping the whole thing run. And then also they would have us understudying roles in the like main stage show. Plus we put on our own show that was just starring the Apprentice Company, which were mostly like young, early career actors, like in their like early 20s usually. Um, so I was one of the younger ones there. They were all a little bit older than me. Um, but but yeah, it was a really good experience because I got to like be on like the lower end of the totem pole at the company and meet all like the big higher up people, but then also be like making my own art while I'm there and making theater there, which was a really good experience. If anyone's going to Boston anytime soon, highly recommend looking them up.
Definitely, I'll definitely check it out. What what was the training um or like how was the training been run? Like what does it mean to be training in Shakespearean method?
Oh
Or
yeah. So it's kind of a several pronged thing. I think I mean baseline with Shakespeare, there's like just a lot you can be doing with the text in terms of learning like um, how to read like a verse line of Shakespeare because you know he writes in sentences, but it's also poetry most of the time. So 10 syllable lines, usually iambic pentameter, and how to like scan the line and get the like the you know, the Shakespeare of it. And just learning kind of how to like massage that type of text and make it exciting and engaging and understandable for an audience because it's poetry that isn't the way that we normally speak, so it can be kind of dense. So learning how to like lift up the words that matter and which words matter and why they matter. So there's that training, and then there was also a lot of like just like actor training. I trained in the Linklater method, which is a really cool it's like a voice training. It's sort of about freeing the natural voice is the book by Kristen Linklater. It's sort of about connecting your like inner emotion and voice to the text that you're saying in like the most truthful way. So that was tied very closely to
could you give an
Shakespeare.
example for that?
Yeah. It's kind of hard to, but I am no expert on Linklater, and I highly recommend someone else look it up so they know more than I do. But it's the part I love the most about it. It's about like freeing the things that block your voice from being truthful. So, like for example, I, as a woman who wants to be liked by people, my voice tends to get really high when I talk because I feel like that makes me more likable and seem more approachable and seem more like less aggressive. But I think something I learned was that letting my voice just get like really high and super like bubbly isn't actually the most authentic expression of my voice. It's me like putting on something to prove something to someone. So sort of that kind of training helped me throw that out the window so that what I was doing was actually authentic and not like put on, I guess.
That's
I'm definitely
incredible.
butchering it. Somebody who knows more
No,
about
no,
like
no. But that's like I did not learn that method, but I really relate to it. Like in the singing world, well, in classical, it's always like don't try and like in the classical singing, as you know, because you studied classical singing, is that don't try and enforce a certain sound. Just let the body work and just like let the rest kind of be a vessel, be like a tube, and that will create eventually the sound. You don't need to make it narrow. You don't need to make it wide. You can eventually like play with it, but through the air. And I think it's very similar to what you just said now. Just be the authentic self.
totally. Yeah, that's like my whole thing is just about not putting anything on and just being authentic. I love that.
That's amazing. That's a great tip for people, like, you know, for life.
Yeah, I love it. I'm a big fan.
What is your favorite Shakespeare play or like favorite character or style, like drama, tragedy, a comedy? Like,
Um, I have a lot of favorite Shakespeare plays. I love Taming of the Shrew was probably my first favorite and will always like be in my heart because Katharina is my dream role and I think she's awesome. I also love Twelfth Night. I played Olivia in Twelfth Night. my junior year, which is one of my favorite shows I've done. I think it's his best comedy. But in terms of like genre, I actually really like the history plays, which like most people don't like. So like there's the Henry IV plays, Henry V.
We're doing it this summer in Jerusalem. The Theater in the Rough are doing Henry IV.
Oh, they are! Yay! I love those. I love like King John. I haven't read Richard II, but everyone else likes it, so I'd probably like it. And Richard III. So all of those history plays I really like. They're like the lesser produced ones, but I think that I feel like they're less tied to genre, so that like more surprising things happen in them. And I did my thesis in focused on 4 of the history plays, so I kind of fell in love with them. And this character, Queen Margaret, who is in 4 of the plays, which is pretty cool. So
the same Queen Margaret was in all, or it just happened to have a character called.
She's the same character in all of them, and you see her age like really, and kind of in a way that you don't see any other characters like grow in age throughout plays, because they usually don't span that much time, other than like The Winter's Tale that has like a 15-year jump. But yeah, you meet Margaret in Henry VI Part 1 at age 14 about. And then she's only in the very end of that play. And then in Part 2, she's this young queen who's it's just maybe a year or 2 after the events of the last play. And then in Part 3, she's a little bit older. She has a child, and she's running around on a battlefield doing crazy things and murdering people. And then by Richard III, she's this like, people always depict her as older. There's no actual age written into the script, but she's probably older. This kind of like old woman. So you kind of get her whole lifetime over the course of 4 plays, which I think is really cool. There's a writer, Tina Packer, who I love, who writes some like feminist literature on Shakespeare. And she has this section in her book. She's like, Shakespeare must have just been so fascinated with Margaret that he just couldn't stop writing for her. And I like to think that that's probably what happened. He just like kept writing more plays for her.
That's amazing. That's fascinating even.
Yeah. I also have spent 2 years like aggressively researching her, so I could talk about it forever.
So let's talk about your thesis. I would love to hear about it more.
Okay, great. I love to talk about it. Long story short, my thesis is called Margaret, My Name, which is taken from one of her first lines. And it is those 4 plays that I just mentioned cut into one 1-hour play that basically, it's all Shakespeare's text, but it only focuses on Margaret and tells the story from Margaret's perspective, because she tends to be like a secondary character in all these plays. She's not the main character. I think she is, but people might think she's not. But so this sort of, I was like, instead of these plays being about a bunch of men who are fighting for the crown because of their egos and what they want, what if it was just about like the one woman who has this huge role in all of it and kind of makes everything happen behind the scenes? Like, what happens if we tell it from her point of view? So I crafted that script and played Margaret myself. I basically started after that summer that I spent apprenticing with Commonwealth. We did Henry VI Part 2, which is how I learned about these plays. And I was like, I gotta know more. So I was researching Margaret, and turns out nobody writes about her. Nobody talks about her. And when they do, they usually talk about how much they hate her and how she's a villain and how she's this monster. There's this one book from the 1890s where a woman writes that Margaret probably wasn't even written by Shakespeare because she's so not Shakespearean. She's not likable. Shakespeare would never have liked a woman like Margaret, which I very strongly disagree with. Harold Bloom says that that Margaret's an actress's nightmare, which I also disagree with. So I kind of wanted to prove everyone wrong and be like, you have all these preconceptions about what women should be doing in classical plays, but they're not the same as what they were actually doing. And so I kind of wanted to give her her due and put her on stage and let people see her story from beginning to end and understand why she is the way she is and what she does. So I crafted the script from scratch, from Shakespeare. I wrote a little of my own original stuff. I had a song that I wrote that eventually got cut just because we didn't need it. But that's basically the play. I had an amazing cast of 4 actors who I love dearly. And they played all the other parts because I was like, I don't need 1,000 actors to play all these people. I can just use 4. And yeah, we were about a week and a half from opening when the pandemic hit and the show was canceled. So
So what did you do?
we did not open our show, which is a real shame because it was kind of a labor of love, and it felt like the culmination of like the past 4 years, but also like a whole lifetime of figuring out who I am as an artist and what kind of theater I want to be doing. So it was definitely very upsetting, and I'm still very upset. The night that the show got canceled and they told us school's over, you got to go home, you're graduating from home, nothing else is happening. My cast texted me. They're like, "What's going on? We were supposed to rehearse tonight. What do you want to do?" And I was like, "I know we're about to like go into some crazy global pandemic that none of us know anything about yet, but if we could all come together for one night and just run the show one last time, we'll throw on as many of the costumes as we can. We'll add as many of the props as we can, and we'll film it, and we'll just have it." And my cast and my team and my designers were all so game, which I am so lucky for. Like, I do not deserve them, but they all were like, "Yes, let's do it. We're in." And we all got together. I was wearing like no makeup because I'd been crying for like hours and hours. And we filmed it and we ran it. So it's not a full performance. It was not performance ready. Like, it still had weeks to go, but I do have a video of it if anyone's interested in watching it. I will send it your way. Yeah, so I have that, and it was really wonderful. It was as much closure as we were ever going to get. Like, it was a really nice night to just kind of do the play one more time. And I created a website page for it on my personal website.
If you don't mind putting in the comments after the interview, they'll be amazing.
I will. My website's rachelbgreene.com, but I can link it also in the comments.
Actually, if you don't mind, you can write it to me now and I can put it on like as a banner in the bottom so that we can actually do that. So, un momento, everyone.
I'm going to just text it to you in this private chat here.
Yes. Yeah, StreamYard is really cool. Whoever created this platform, thank you so much. And thank you, CB and Jet Live, for giving me and Rachel the chance to reconnect after all these years.
Yeah, that's the link I just sent you is for my like general website. And there's on the website, there's a link to a page called Margaret My Name, which has all about my thesis. So you can hear lots about it there.
That's amazing. So there you go.
Yeah. And yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, so I have it. I have the script. I have a 68-page paper that I wrote about it. There's a ton of stuff on there. There's like dramaturgy, like lots of like research you can read about the plays. There's a Spotify playlist full of like punk rock women jams that I used to sort of like build the world of the play. There's a ton of stuff there, and I'm hoping one day to get it produced when there's not a giant pandemic and no one can do anything. But
amen.
I hope that one day it'll go up because I want people to see Margaret and hear her story. But it's been good. I got a lot of nice recognition from my department. The play was given highest honors, which is the best the thesis can get, I guess, which was really nice. And I won a playwriting award for it, which was cool because I don't consider myself a playwright.
That's incredible.
Thank you. It was cool. It came with money, which I appreciate. And I'm
we already know money.
Not that I need the money, but like I'm if it's ever possible for me to put the show back up, that's where the money's going. So it's nice to know that like I have something that could help me put the show back up one day because I do really want to share it with the world. But it was nice to be recognized as like a playwright because I'm an actor and I just saw like there is a type of theater I want to be making. I want to be making Shakespeare that focuses on women and reclaims their stories instead of seeing them as secondary. And I saw there was like a gap for that. And I was like, I'm not a playwright, but I'm going to make a play that will do the thing I want to do. And so it was cool for someone to be like, "You're a playwright." I was like, okay. It which is, it's been great. It's made me want to write more and stuff, which is nice.
Yay! So do you have what's like your next project?
Oh boy. I mean, I'm definitely still an actor first. And I want to be acting more than anything. And so I think I would say my next project is still Margaret, because I'm not done with her and I still would love to get that show produced. So if someone was like, send me a script, I would send them that one. But I've been trying to write a few other things about mostly adaptation, taking like classical stories and making them women focused. So I've been writing one play based on a personal experience that's not Shakespeare related at all. We'll see if anything comes of it. And then I have a few little Shakespeare projects. My friends and I are really interested in mothers and daughters and how they're depicted in Shakespeare. The secret is they're not. So we were thinking of trying to create something based on that. Shakespeare has some epic poetry that I think would be really cool adapted into a play that people don't do much with. So little things, but yeah, there are just lots of ideas floating around in my head that I probably won't do anything with because I'm busy trying to like find a job and like get my life started. But yeah, something like that.
That's incredible. Wow. Well, I'm going a little back to before when you said that you started Brandeis, you were still thinking that the reason you're going there is because you want to do a degree in theater and have like the liberal arts or whatsoever. And then you mentioned that by meeting other people who are not necessarily theater related, you were able to enrich in your world. Do you mind like saying how and like what way?
Yeah, I think yeah, I definitely thought I was going to have a billion other majors because at Brandeis, everyone has like multiple areas of study. Not everyone, but most people have like 3 majors and 3 minors, like a lot. And my joke is that every semester I started and quit a different major / minor. Like I came to do theater, but I was like, I think my first semester I was like theater and politics. And then I took a politics class and I got a C-. And I was like, maybe it's not for me. And so then I tried American studies. I tried education, which I still care a lot about. I tried music. I tried economics and business. Like I tried everything. And I was bad at all of it. So I stopped. But taking those classes was cool because now I just have a little bit of knowledge about a lot of things, which was fun. And through that, I made a lot of friends with people who were passionate about all of those things. Like, I didn't end up studying politics, but now I know a lot of people who care a lot about politics, and I also care a lot about politics. But I was able to learn from them. And same with everything else. And then, but even more than that, I think what it did was it just the other theater artists in the theater department all had multiple interests. So getting to know them and seeing them be able to put on like plays that were about what they were interested in, and make their own art based on their like non-theater interests was really inspiring to me. My freshman year, my friend Jamie, who is a senior, did her senior thesis. She was an environmental studies major, so her thesis was this play that she wrote that we devised it together about an environmental rights activist. And I learned so much about the trees, the forest redwoods in California, from creating that play. And I would never know anything about that. But because she was so passionate about the environment and using theater to educate about the environment, I was able to learn so much more. And that taught me a lot about making art about my passions, which is feminism and classical studies usually. So I'm able to make art that incorporates that. So, it's a long story, but I think it answered your question.
It was fascinating, and it's like I feel it like that's what I like about musical theater in a sense that there were moments like Hamilton or Paint War that you learn history through them, and it doesn't matter like oh my god they're amazing singers. Like for me, I started to enjoy musicals aside of the music for the story. That what uniques them for like opera, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. The fact that there's a certain story, the way that they present history, the way that now people will know more. Like Alexander Hamilton. People didn't necessarily know about him as much as they know about today. Or
Yeah.
like whoever saw Paint War understood that there's like they can like since like the idea of what happened in the makeup industry that before what happened today, like Revlon was like the new person compared to the other two ladies, Estee Lauder and I forgot the other one. I'm sorry, but
Yeah, I
Patty
don't
LaCombe
know
was
the shows
amazing
too
in
well.
that. No,
Yeah.
it just happened to be like the show that I saw before Hamilton. Like I didn't see Hamilton live yet, but like it was just fascinating for me. I was like, whoa, that's history. I'm fascinated.
Yeah.
And it's like incredible to say like, wow, theater can and is a way to combine both, no matter in what
Yeah.
way. If it can be in politics, if it can be, education, if it can be gender and equation, like it's just there's so much you can do with theater. There's something for it. Like people should put it in schools as like I just
I love what you're saying, especially about just like storytelling. And like I think one of the biggest takeaways I got from like college, like I learned a lot, but it was more about learning like how I come to making theater. And like the phrase like storyteller is like the like word that I like use. I think my Instagram bio is like actor storyteller something.
Incredible.
But yeah, I think that's totally where I come to it. I had like an epiphany. I was doing a show second semester junior year, so like a year ago now, where I was doing the Bacchae. It's a Greek play. It's insane. It was a new modern adaptation, not modern, but it had modern music. That was original. That was cool and fun. But I was doing the show and I was playing this woman who has this horrible arc. She basically murders her own son, which is don't do that. But she
don't.
she's the queen and she's a princess of Thebes, and she is so dissatisfied with her life that she runs off to the mountains to live with all these women and finally find their freedom. And she's so crazed with how much she needs that she basically accidentally kills someone thinking that she's killing a lion and that this is big valiant thing. That's a very big oversimplification of the story. But the point is it brings her downfall. And there was one point where I was doing the show. It was a Saturday night show, and I was singing this song that the composer had written for my character, and I always was crying during it. And I heard someone in the audience crying while I was crying. And I like had like an out of body experience where I was like, wow, like I'm telling a story and I have so much responsibility because somebody is being like moved by the thing that I'm doing, which I know is like kind of obvious. Like that's why we do theater, but it was just,
but it's not obvious. Cause sometimes you're like some people saying, I just love doing theater because I love doing theater. And some people it's like, I want to tell something and I want it to be impactful. And sometimes you don't realize how impactful you are until after. And so definitely.
And I just felt so like, I try to work really hard to tell stories truthfully. And if I have this character that I believe in and I love, even if everyone else hates her, I will try to like do my absolute best to like understand every little thing about her so I can tell her story truthfully. But just that moment of hearing somebody else, like I just heard someone in the audience and I was like, the responsibility of like a storyteller to like, if I don't tell the story correctly or I don't care enough or I don't try, then like somebody sees that and that's all they'll ever think about this character. So it was just something that like really hit me about like the role of like actors as storytellers and like why I do what I do. And I went home that night and I cried for like hours. And I was like, it's all too much. But it was good. It was a good epiphany. I was also just tired and a mess. So that's probably why I was crying. But all of that is to say, yes, I agree with you.
What's next? Because you graduated now, and well, aside of the world being a mess now, but what are you planning for like?
Yeah, I'm so everything's a little up in the air. I graduated from home on Zoom. So my whole plan had been to use the spring to be auditioning and finding jobs and figuring out where I wanted to be. And that all kind of didn't happen. But my plan at this point is I'm currently looking to lock down an apartment in Boston. So love Ohio, but I'm trying to get out and get my way back up to Boston. And so the goal is to move myself there, get any job I can, hopefully in arts education or arts admin, but I'll take anything. If anyone knows anyone in Boston who would give me a job, please let me know. So I want to try to get myself back to Boston, and then theater's changing, I think, for hopefully the better. I think the pandemic has revealed a lot about what needs to change about theater, and I think
Do you have an example for what? Like, because you get to see it
I
much
just think
closer.
like it's going to be a while before we can do everything that we used to do again. At least in America. I don't know how it's going in Israel. Hopefully better, but the amount of bodies on stage and the closeness of people on stage and in the audience is gonna. I feel like it's not gonna hit normal for a while, or normal. There'll be a new normal. So I think it's kind of an interesting time in theater because I think it'll change in some capacity. I think casts might be smaller, like things might be simpler. But I'm interested to see what'll happen. I also am excited to be a part of that. It's a terrifying time because I didn't get to do any of the networking and prep that I wanted to do to break into the industry, whatever that means. But also kind of exciting because something new is going to happen and I get to be a part of it and help make it and hopefully make theater even better than it was before and more equitable too, because I think there's a lot of gaps in who's included in the stories we tell and whose stories we're telling. And I think that's also coming to light now in a way that it always should have been. And so that's exciting too. So yeah, the long story short is I'm moving to Boston and hopefully going to keep on acting and writing and keep on doing stuff.
Wow. Good luck with everything.
Thank you. If anyone has any advice or any contacts in Boston, let me know.
Yeah, please do. Please do. She's amazing. You don't want to miss her.
I'm okay. I'll be fine.
I know you'll be fine. Just last question before we wrap things up. What's your recommendation for someone who wants to start his way in theater and community theater performance or writing, or what's your advice for someone who just wants to start?
Well, it's a good question. I think I have received a really good piece of advice from my advisor and mentor at Brandeis, Adrienne Kristansky. She's wonderful. And the first thing she says to all of her classes is go before you're ready. Which I think has been really good advice, and sort of just do, even if you think you're not ready yet, you're I'm not good enough yet, I'm not a good enough writer to write things, I'm not a good enough actor to audition, just do it anyway, because who cares, and then you'll be better for doing it. So I think when you're scared, that's where you should push harder and work harder. So that'd be my first thing, and then my second thing is just it's hard work, and it should be hard work. And if it's not hard, then you need to find something to make it harder. I don't know if that makes sense, but I just think that if it feels like it's too easy, then you're not being challenged enough, and you need to find something. Yeah, I don't know. I just think
you need something to grasp you, to something to focus you. So if it's by finding a new way to be tweaks, or you can give us a better examples, but I actually really relate to it. I feel that sometimes I might be going into a very robot, to a very neutralized place, and I always trying to find ways to top myself. So I think it's very crucial, and I loved the first tip. I actually am taking it to heart because I'm always saying to myself, you need to do it until you're ready. Don't start auditioning for opera or musical professionally until you're ready. Just do it.
I'm also so scared of it. And with my thesis has been a thing. Now I have this script and this play that never got produced. And I'm some college kid, and I'm no playwright. Who am I to just start sending this play to people? But it's also the worst thing I can hear is no. you know? So it's like, why not just do it? And if I wait till I'm ready, then I'll just be waiting forever, because I know me and I'm an anxious person and I'll never feel like I'm ready enough. So I think just just go before you're ready.
Wow, that is amazing advice. And with that, we'll wrap up. Thank you so much, Rachel. I had so much fun and I
This was so
learned so much.
yes.
So tomorrow night we have Yardena and Mordechai. And next week we have an amazing panel of people, including Antoine on Sunday, and who was in Rent in Little Shop with me. And he also was Seaweed and Hairspray. And I'm trying to recall if he did another show here in Israel, but he's amazing. He's a jazz singer, and I'm so looking forward to hear from him and talk to him. And on Tuesday, we have an amazing workshop with Yael Silver talking a bit about what it is to be a producer in the business, as well as like what is it to create art with a social justice trigger. I'm not saying it well, but it's going to be very fascinating. So you as well, Rachel, very welcome. All of you are welcome to join us. Please just write to us on the message or to our email, which I'll put down later in the comments. Have a wonderful night. Be safe. Be creative. And see you till the next time. Bye,
Thank you.
Rach.
Bye.